Welcome to the Strength and Courage podcast, a podcast focused on helping you lead with strength and courage in every situation you face. The Strength and Courage podcast is hosted by Ben Thomas and Hassan Kibirango. The Strength and Courage podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Be to the World. Be to the World focuses on bringing fullness of life to the future of every child impacted by war. Stand with the millions of children in countries recovering from war so they can receive a transformative education. Start your journey as a Be to the World ambassador by making a monthly donation at www.betotheworld.org/donate. And now to Ben and Hassan for today's episode.
Yeah, so Hassan, so excited to have these conversations with you and excited to share these conversations with leaders around the world, and especially those leaders that are serving in places like Rwanda, like the Middle East, like throughout Africa, Asia, etc. And you and I have dreamed about this for a little while now, and really excited that this is the day that we get to launch it. So thanks for partnering with me in this.
Sure.
And
it's
really excited for how this will be used around the world to hopefully encourage leaders wherever they are to continue the good work that God's put in their hands. So, so Hassan, let's just start off getting to know each other a little bit. Tell me a little bit. Don't tell me about what you do. Tell me a little bit first just about who you are.
Wow. I'm excited, Ben, to start this journey with you. And for me, the biggest excitement is to be able to add value to leaders. That's the joy of my heart. And this is one of the different tools available to us. And let's see what the Lord will do. Yeah, so my name is Hassan Kibirango, and I'm 37 years old. I'm married to Joanne, and we have 4 beautiful children. Today, the day we launch this podcast, is my wife's birthday. So it's
happy birthday, Joanne!
Yeah, so I'm an optimist. I'm enthusiastic about life and about leadership. I think and believe actually that when any society, any country, any organization, any space where there's the right leadership, irrespective of the deficiency of resources or anything of the kind, the situation can always turn around. Yeah. And for me, spaces like being in Rwanda right now is testament to that. So I'm really, really excited about the topic of leadership and how we can maneuver it to be able to, talk about it, explain it, just go around it in different ways to be able to help people understand it so they can walk in it, so they can cause transformation within their spheres of influence and localities. So I am really a leadership enthusiast, if you will. And I've been on the leadership front for about probably the last 20 years of my life. I started leading when I was a teenager, so that would be a little more than 20. Leading in school, people always see this gift in you. They throw you responsibilities your way. I was in school leadership. I started leading myself and being independent since I was about 15. I lost my father when I was a little younger, and I needed to fend for myself and my siblings. So I started working while I was studying, and I was just thrust into leadership. And sometimes I'm in certain spaces, I'm pointed at, they're like, you need to lead this, lead that. Sometimes I'm like, okay, you've heard of this question, are leaders born or made?
Yeah.
In my own case, I believe it was both, because I was born, but then I have been made by different circumstances and different experiences. Yeah, and I lead with an organization called Redwoods Leadership, and we're a leadership consultancy where we add value to leaders, help them grow and become better leaders. I also serve as a men's pastor at my local church, Christian Life Assembly, here in Kigali. Yeah, that's basically my approach to leadership, is be a student of leadership at all costs in order to be able to add value to leaders.
Yeah, that's great. And tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, I got married to Joanne 13 years ago. I have been with her, walking the journey of marriage faithfully, learning a lot through marriage. Marriage teaches you a lot about leadership. And we have 4 beautiful children. Gabriela, who is 11 years, Ariella is 9 years old, and we have a set of twins, Josiah and Joella, who are 7 years old. And my family is the joy of my life. Yeah. They are reason for my being, and the reason why I do what I do. We homeschool our children. We've always been doing that. And that means we spend a lot of time with them, my wife and I, and just growing with them, keeping them in that space. Of course, we expose them to a lot of social activities so that they are not clustered with the idea of home being all in all. That's my family in a nutshell. And of course, I have an extended family that I support here and there. But that's my nucleus family. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, and you, for us knowing each other, we'll get into a little bit more of your history and your background, because I think that really shapes the context of the leadership and the man that you've grown to be. So one of the reasons I'm excited to host this with you is your businessman, pastor, father, husband. I think maybe one of your biggest contributions in the scene here in Kigali has been the way that you and Joanne have mentored couples that are intending to be married, and then as they get married. And so, you've had quite the swath of leadership experience, not just leading in organizational sense, but leading at personal levels as well. So excited for you to bring that to our listeners here throughout the continent, and I'm really excited for them to get to know you.
Sure.
Hassan, tell me just a little bit in terms of, you've had this experience of business and then a call into the pastorate, and then a call into an assignment into Redwood's leadership. But as I've gotten to know you, the thread that's been the same throughout, though you've changed assignments, the thread that's been there throughout has been leadership.
Sure.
And leadership development. So where did you get a passion for leadership development? So you're a gifted leader, but where did you go from saying, hey, let me lead, to help me help others on their leadership journey as well?
Thanks, Ben. I think for me, it was the light bulb moment when I realized and figured out, not just as head knowledge, but even in my heart, the power of leadership and what right leadership can do in transforming lives. I had this mentor of mine who was thrust into a space, and he's a peer mentor, really, somebody we started a business with. The very first business we started in Kigali, his name is Vincent. And he's one of the wisest men that I know. So he went to his village here in Kigali, rather in Rwanda, a place called Kinigi in Musanze district. And, he saw a lot of disenfranchised, poor people. And he just felt burdened to do something about that space. So he went through different churches. He organized people into cooperatives, and he was able to train them with the basic skills of doing business, leveraging God's word and the accountability from the churches. And these people, he gave them a little seed capital where he told them, look, we're going to grow this much potatoes, 10% you give us tithe, 10% you will save for the next planting season, 10% you will give to your neighbors to also start, to have seed to start. And the other 30% you can always sell. And we observed, because I was just observing him, and I noticed how through that sense of leadership, an entire community was transformed in just a matter of time. And it took him taking personal responsibility for the problem that he saw. And that's what leadership is. And for me, that and so many other examples that I've been able to witness has given me a conviction, and I'm convinced beyond a shadow of doubt that leadership is not only the hope of the world, but it's the answer to so many of our injustices and issues that we have in the world. So that really thrust me to become a student of leadership and saying, how can I take this and help other people contextualize it and so that they can see the transformation that they need to see.
Yeah.
So it's a powerful tool. Leadership is a powerful tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you look at any part of society, and anywhere you see success, behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, you see a leader or a group of leaders that are contributing to that success.
Absolutely.
Success doesn't happen by accident.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, Hassan. Well, thanks for sharing that. And what does your work at Redwoods look like these days?
Yeah, so what we do at Redwoods is we come alongside, again, leaders, but within context of organizations, companies mostly. And we do what we call a training needs assessment, where we sit with either the head of HR or the chief executive CEO or head of company, and just find out what are the gaps, where are the gaps, what are the leadership challenges they're facing. So we're able to draw from their hearts where the challenges are, and we proffer a solution for them, either be it by training or even walking a journey with them to help avert that problem. Yeah, so we've realized that most of the challenges that organizations in Kigali and I'd say globally face around leadership are less technical. They are more on the human side.
Yeah.
They are mostly people not working well together, people having deficiencies around their soft skills. So that's the area that we've niched, because we're not technical in the sense that many companies have their technical side. It could be a telecom or a bank or whatever, but people are people, and people struggle through the same issues to be able to serve their customers right. So that's really where we come in and help organizations, and we've been able to serve quite a number of them within this nation, and we're grateful for it.
Yeah. That's great. Well, maybe final question as we get to know you a little bit better is tell me about maybe the 3 most influential books that you've read.
Oh, wow. I wish I had prepped for that. 3 is, for me, books on leadership, there's always something that I draw from one book that another gives me something else. I don't know if I can rank them. It would not be fair to my heart. There's so many of them. Yeah, there's a book by Bill Hybels I read called Courageous Leadership.
Yeah.
Love that book to bits. There's one by Jim Collins, actually a couple of them, Good to Great and Great by Choice. Those are very good books around leadership. And the other book that has been, and I forget the author right now, but I read it 2 years ago. It's called Leading with a Limp.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leading
Dan
with...
Allender.
Yes,
yeah.
Allender, yeah. And it was really, that book opened my eyes to celebrating weaknesses and flaws and failures, which all of us have. But there's this seeming thing about leadership where our best foot forward is the things we've done right.
Yeah.
So that book opened an angle to me of, we can learn from our failures and grow through them as long as we don't keep making mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are some of the books that...
Okay. Yeah, that's great. As we go through this, would love to learn some lessons from your books that you've read, and you've recently just written a book.
Yes.
Yeah? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so about 3 years ago, I started noticing a pattern around the young professionals, especially when we started, and you were one of our guest speakers when we had this young professionals summit where we would gather young professionals and just to add value to them. I noticed that younger professionals, but then it goes all the way through the entire scale of professionals, is people have a sense of disdain for work.
Yeah.
And they don't like it as much. They tolerate it, they endure it, and they're not passionate about it. Yeah, and I tried to find out the reason why. So one day I was reading an article, must have been towards the end of 2019, in the US, that on Monday morning, the majority of the males, around 80% of the males, get heart attacks on Monday morning between 8 to 9 a.m. And I was like, wow, people are literally dying to go to work. Work is killing people. And the further I read down that article, I realized that people just were stressed out for different reasons, and work was just killing them. Yeah, and that's when I drew an inspiration around Monday and said, how can we get people to love Monday? And Monday is really an it's indicative of work. So last year I started writing The Gift of Monday. That's the title of my book, The Gift of Monday, finding the abiding joy of work, even on the most depressing day of the week. And really, it's just to encourage people and pump them up that, you can love work because you're going to spend most of your life working. So why would you spend your life doing something that you hate? So that's what the book's about. We'll be launching it in November, and I'm excited to get it into the hands of leaders and professionals, and hopefully it will help people get their groove back around work.
That's really great. Well, we're excited to be able to get that into the hands of leaders, and excited to have you be able to share your insights about work and what that means and looks like to leaders around the world.
Sure.
So,
thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for joining us today on the Strength and Courage podcast. Please share this episode with your friends and tag us on social media. Ben and Hassan are active across Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. You could follow Ben on Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Ben P. Thomas. You could follow Hassan on Twitter at Kibirango. Send us your questions via Twitter and we'll get back to you. Thanks to our sponsors at Be to the World. Visit www.betotheworld.org/donate to become a Be to the World ambassador today, because at least one person in this world needs you too.